ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Tammy Shipley believed someone was out to hurt her.
I thought someone was after me and I wanted to just be safe.
She's put under 24-hour surveillance.
I tried to get in contact multiple times.
I just need to make a phone call. Nobody knows where I am.
And then something strange happens.
She just drank and had something like 20 litres of pure water.
Ambulance emergency.
I've got a woman unconscious.
Tammy's story. Search Background Briefing on ABC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Negotiators had just arrived for peace talks in Qatar when the US started bombing Iran again. The US military says the strikes were in self-defence. But what does it mean for a deal to end the war that Donald Trump has said is mostly done? Today, Hussein Ibish from the Arab Gulf States Institute on what the US president needs now to walk away from a conflict he no longer wants. I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily. Hussein, Donald Trump, he's in the midst of negotiating a peace deal with Iran. It all seems, well, promising, according to him. And then comes word of the US conducting strikes on Iran's Gulf coast.
The fragile ceasefire in the Middle East has come under renewed strain, with the United States launching new strikes on southern Iran and Israel stepping up its operation in Lebanon.
US media reports say American forces hit targets, including missile launch sites and Iranian boats attempting to place mines.
In a statement, a spokesperson said US Central Command continues to defend our forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire.
What do we know at this point as we speak?
Well, what we gather is that the US conducted strikes on Iranian missile facilities that they believe were preparing to attack US interests in the region, and also vessels, Iranian naval vessels, that they accuse plausibly of preparing to further mine the Strait of Hormuz. So those are the targets that we gather have been attacked. And at the same time, negotiations are gaining steam in Qatar. They are inching closer to a memorandum of understanding for a peace agreement that would hold for 2 or 3 months, something like that, in order to open the possibility of an agreement on much more intractable issues, such as the nuclear file.
Let's come to this deal, or this apparent deal that's been negotiated, a bit more in a moment. But just on these US strikes, now the US says this is in self-defence. So does that constitute a breach of the ceasefire that's still in place?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I mean, things like a ceasefire agreement or arms reduction agreements are in that category of statecraft agreements, agreements between nation states that are valid until they're not, and that are in force until they aren't. They are rock solid until the day that they evaporate. If the Iranians declare that this has been an unbearable, egregious ceasefire that has brought the end of conflict provisions to a screeching standstill, then it will presumably be that, exactly that.
But these strikes, they come at the same time that the Israeli leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, is threatening renewed strikes on Hezbollah in Lebanon.
What this requires of us now is to increase the blows, to increase the intensity. We will smite them with overwhelming force.
He's saying he's going to step up the campaign there, even when these peace negotiations are underway.
Well, I think it's all very predictable, because I think it's still pretty clear that, Israel has its own agenda, and Israel is, going to do what it's going to do. But when it comes to Iran, they have to be very careful to keep Washington on side, not to exceed their remit, not to go too far in annoying the Americans, and not to exceed their mandate from Washington. The measures that Israel might be contemplating would be okay in Lebanon as long as they didn't attack the airport and the port, which they've been told not to by the United States. But when it comes to Iran, they've really got to let Washington take the lead.
All right, well, Hussein, let's return now to this possible deal with Iran.
Yes.
Now, it's clear at this point, isn't it, that Donald Trump, he wants out.
Oh, definitely.
He does not want to continue this anymore.
Well, he's been very clear about that for many weeks.
We're going to end that war very quickly. They want to make a deal so badly. They're tired of this. Should have happened for 47 years. Somebody should have done something about it.
And really, since the first time he postponed the major attacks he kept talking about, the civilization-ending attacks that did not budge the Iranians 1 inch. And then he decided to give them a last-minute reprieve for no discernible reason, no apparent reason. And it's been like that ever since, where he's been inching ever so slowly towards resumed bombardment, but with the heaviest heart imaginable. This is not someone who wants to return to this war. He was bamboozled into it by the Israelis, and now he's out on a limb. And what's he going to do? He created a dreadful mess when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, because in that case, he can't blame it on anybody else. He can't say, well, the Biden administration did thus and such, or I inherited it from Obama, or the Obama deal was a worse deal, or anything like that. There's nothing he can say when people would point out that, hey, we didn't have this problem before you launched this madcap war of yours, and now we have the problem. What are you going to do about it? Iran is shutting down shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The only thing you can do is cut off their own access to it as well. And so then no one gets to use it, but that doesn't solve the problem you created at all. And so what are you going to do about it? And he doesn't know.
And as you say, he wants an easy out, a deal that will solve some things like the Strait of Hormuz, but deal with the really hard things like, uranium later.
Yeah, the highly enriched uranium that we're talking about here. There's about 400 plus kilos of uranium enriched to 60 to 70%, which is near bomb grade material, and certainly enough to create a dirty bomb. And, that's sort of why Trump has been saying, well, it's buried under the rubble near Isfahan, and if the Iranians ever move to recover it, we will detect this from our satellite imaging, and we're keeping a very close eye on this area. And if that ever happens, we will bomb them to smithereens. And the question that gets begged then is, well, why aren't you doing that now anyway? And there isn't really a very good answer, except one that sort of holds out for diplomacy, for an agreement to resolve the issue amicably, all the things that any rational person would prefer to violence. And so in that respect, he gets a pass on it, but only because everyone is so keen on avoiding another round of madcap military attacks back and forth and discovering what Iran has up its sleeve next, courtesy of Donald Trump.
And as part of these discussions now, Donald Trump also, Hussein, has another demand. He wants nations like Saudi Arabia to sign up to the Abraham Accords. He wants them to normalize ties with
not happening.
Israel. Yeah, just remind me what the Accords are and why is it not happening?
So it's a byword for normalization, diplomatic and other forms of normalization with Israel. It got that moniker because the UAE had decided a couple of years before they acted in August 2020 that they needed a regional partner in pursuing, and only Israel was acting in a similar way. Why? Because the UAE and Israel share some qualities that are unique to them in the Middle East. They are small powers with very limited populations, but also a large military footprint. The pressure on the Saudis to join the Abraham Accords has been very enormous. And they have come to the view after the war in Gaza that it is not at all in their interest to normalize with Israel, and they don't intend to be doing it anytime soon. And so there's no way they're going to do it, and it's right out of the question.
Well, Hussein, these peace negotiations, they're still continuing. Now tell me, what do you think Donald Trump's red lines are now? What is he actually willing to walk away with?
It's kind of hard to say, but I think he would take a deal that would involve reopening the Strait of Hormuz without any Iranian extraterritorial claims being recognized. So that would solve that issue, at least until it comes up again. In other words, until next time Iran decides to pull the same stunt, which will be whenever they decide to. And then on the nuclear file, what he would want would be something that he can claim is better than Obama got. Obama got about 15 years of no more enrichment beyond the low levels required for electricity production. And what the US and the Iranians can agree to, at most, is one of these deals that effectively kicks the can down the road. And I don't think they can reach a more thoroughgoing deal under current circumstances. And those circumstances are going to apply until something dramatic happens to change them, which would involve something like a much bigger war. What Trump would like, therefore, understanding that, is at least 15 years, but hopefully more. So he can say, aha, I told you I could get a better deal than Obama. He got 15 years, I got 17 years, or something as ridiculous as that. But, he can claim it. And in addition to that, he would want, an agreement that puts the issue of the highly enriched uranium to bed. They could try to reduce its refinement. They could surrender it. They could ship it to Pakistan or someone else. So that's what he would want. More years than Obama got, some reasonable arrangement on the Strait of Hormuz, and similarly a reasonable arrangement on the enriched uranium. And the issues of missiles and drones and Hezbollah and the armed gangs are, I think, largely off the table for now.
And what do you think? Will he do everything now in his power to walk away from this, that Donald Trump will accept it so he can walk away, so he can leave this war behind him?
I really don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know. I don't know what the Iranians are going to offer him. I don't know what he's going to be willing to accept. I took my best shot at guessing the minimum he might agree to just now, and I can't go further than that, especially since I don't know what the Iranians are going to be willing to do. They have been acting and speaking as if they won the war, and they didn't, but they may think they did, because they, outlasted a superpower. And, they may be feeling very cocksure at the moment. And that's dangerous in a world of nuclear buttons and nuclear bombs, which is the world we live in. So I wouldn't really hazard a guess.
Hussein Ibish is from the Arab Gulf States Institute. This episode was produced by Sydney Peed. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. Thanks for listening.